One different thought, you could be at ease. One different action, you could be at ease. One different word saying, you could be at ease. One different belief, you could be at ease. And guess what? You are in control of your actions, your words, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your feelings.
Thank you so much for doing this. I know how busy your time is, so I really enjoy it, and I'm appreciative that you've come on my show, and I'd love to just spend the next 20, 30 minutes we have just to pick your brain and hear about your story.
I would love that. Let's go for it.
Thank you so much, Dave. So the other day I was reading your book, Connecting to Greatness, and I was just surprised. Like I was just reading the beginning and you're talking about like affirmations, the universe, manifestation. And that's something that, you know, I don't hear too often from like entrepreneurs. And I was just surprised just reading about that things, because I'm sort of a big believer in affirmations and manifestation, and that surprised me.
Yeah, you know, it took me a while to get there. It surprises me, and people, including my wife, laughs at me today that someone who was so resistant to understanding the power of the universe, a faithful spiritual pursuit that I'm on for the last 16 years, where I've actually, as my wife always says, I've overachieved and accelerated past her understanding and her beliefs. So I started out, you know, like a typical sports agent, living in scarcity, buying things I didn't need to impress people I didn't like. And my journey led me to a paradigm shift of not needing or wanting more. Stop trying to get more happy, more healthy, more wealthy, and more worthy, but instead learning from some great world thought leaders and some beautiful books that have been written in the past, understanding what I am. I am that I am. I am happy. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am worthy. And I started to figure out what I was doing to interfere with it. And along with that spirituality came a faith of something bigger than me, an omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing source that loved me more than even my mom loved me. Something that instead of being punished all the time by fate, I was protected and promoted, even though I may not understand the pain, the setbacks, the failures, the mistakes and struggles that were before me. And once that paradigm shift happened, I have accelerated my pursuit of being more interested than interesting, of learning more and more about my ignorant humility and understanding how I can help other people and how they can help me.
One thing that really stood out from your content, David, was that I can really see that you're really pushing this mission of kindness, empathy, giving, always trying to give value. And being vulnerable, and being sort of not soft, but a kind sort of human being. And that's something that I found really unique about you and your content. You're sort of openly sort of kind and open.
And once again, right, everything's a practice. And people ask me, what would I want on my tombstone? And that's what I want on there, right? He was kind. I have a saying, be kind to your future self, do good deeds. I live in abundance the majority of the time. I have a new epiphany. I haven't really shared it, so I'm honored to share it with you and be recorded. But I think this is true. I think that on average, every day, everyone has the exact same amount of incidences that puts them into ego-based consciousness, that gives them a need to be afraid, to be angry, fearful, separate, superior, inferior, anxious, frustrated, guilty, resentful, whatever the ego-based consciousness does that interferes with this source that I talked about earlier. I believe everyone faces the same amount on average of these incidences during the day. And I've been studying time for over a year now, every single day, studying and understanding time as a dependent variable of all matter, subjective and objective matter. And this led me to an understanding that really gave me this new epiphany that if everyone has the same amount of these incidences that cause ego-based consciousness, then it's just a matter of getting better at getting out of the ego-based consciousness. Meaning that if you and I every day on average have 8 times a day that we are angry, upset, separate, inferior, superior, we're interfering with our all-powerful, all-knowing, then all we need to do is spend less time in that. So most people, let's say they average an hour each time one of these incidences occur. Well, they have 8 hours they're interfering with their source. What if I could get better where I am today after 16 years of my pursuit, where I only spend minutes and moments? So, where you may spend 8 hours getting in your own way, accelerating in the wrong direction, creating void, shortages, obstacles, and resistance, I spend 8 moments or even 8 minutes. Imagine the exponential difference in our pursuit, in our acceleration, in a trajectory of what we think we want. If you're spending 8 hours minimum and I'm spending 8 minutes maximum interfering or creating resistance, imagine how much farther I'm going to be on my pursuit of my potential. I think this has been a secret sauce, first conscious, subconscious, and unconsciously, that I've been doing. And now that I have a quantitative measure of time in order to effectuate getting out of my own way, I'm able to hopefully empower even more people to get out of their own way by using time as a dependent variable in the identification of ego-based consciousness.
Is it through practice that you get better at that? Like, for example, yesterday I had a long day, really productive. By the end of the day, I was just exhausted. And for whatever reason, I accidentally got on my phone while I was in bed. And then I just had no willpower left because it was just a long day. And all of a sudden I spent 2 hours on my phone scrolling through shorts, TikTok, YouTube videos. And I slept at 1 a.m. And I was like, why did I just do that to myself?
It's a practice. And let me tell you the 4 steps of the practice. So the first step is identification, right? If we get and practice identifying fear, we then can utilize it to our benefit. Fear can get us up, get us started, get us back started, and restarted. But most of the time, fear needs to be identified so we can utilize it to get out of our own way. So the first step is, can I practice knowing what that looks like in my life? For example, one of the biggest fears I have in my life is a need to be offended. Another one is a need to be right. For whatever reason, genetically or energetically, I have a propensity to be offended and to need to be right. Well, these two things, like you said, they'll exhaust you, they'll bleed you, they'll interfere with your source. See, everyone has the same amount of energy. It's what you're doing to interfere with it. Are you, creating negative energy by on TikTok watching things that bleed you, or TV that bleeds you, or talking to people that bleed you, or reading things that bleed you, whatever it may be? So number one, identify fear. And then 2, the most challenging of the practices is to stop when we identify. See, our natural ego, when we identify fear, is to accelerate in the wrong direction, is to go over it, under it, through it, around it, run away from it, deny it, cheat it, oversell it, back end sell it, resistance, in other words. But if we learn simply to identify the fear and then stop, and then breathe through the nose, out through the mouth, and drop down to our higher self, to neutrality, to flow, into neutrality, into ease. And then we can roll very quickly right back into the trajectory of what we think we want, into what we want, who we can help, who can help us, how best to get it done, prioritizing now what's important to us, not what's important to other people, not what's missing, not what we don't have, no resistance, but simply rolling into the trajectory of what we think we want every day, being more productive, accessible, and gracious, happier, healthier, wealthier, and worthier, by clearing the interference, by identifying the interference, and stopping, dropping, and rolling. And this practice has accumulated and aggregated to allow me to utilize fear and maximize it in my life, because it's never going to go away. I'm just utilizing it in a more efficient, effective way and statistically successful way.
What's your tip with procrastination? I remember the other day I had very difficult, I had to do my accounting for the whole year, and I'm actually 2 years behind. So I had to organize a bunch of documents, get a bunch of sort of statements for all these different bank accounts. And I was just it was just tough. It was annoying. I had to dig through things, and my brain subconsciously wants to go on YouTube and listen to a podcast, because that gives me more dopamine than the amount of dopamine I'll get from organizing my accounting. and I'm stuck in this limbo. It's like, I know this isn't the right thing, but I want to do it. I want to watch a podcast, but I know I need to do my accounting, but the accounting sucks and it's boring, and I can get more dopamine doing this, and the brain is like stalling me.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, the antidote to procrastination is the same antidote to feeling overwhelmed, and it's called prioritization. And prioritization occurs when we know what's important to us, and then we can go ahead and align what is important to us personally, experientially, giving wise, productivity wise, and receiving wise. And then from what we want in the trajectory of what we think we want in the future, we then can determine who can help us and who can we help with what we want. And then how best to utilize the limitation of today, time, 24 hours of time, in order to effectuate what we want and who we can help and who can help us. So we look through time as activities we have planned, activities we don't have planned, and activity called sleep. These are the three things you've already have raised the awareness to that are challenges for you. You've mentioned already in the interview how one time you stayed up too late, one time you have the priority of things you had planned, but then you decided to prioritize something just because it feels good, not because it's more important to you. So when we get into the daily practices of knowing what we want in a trajectory of what we think we want in the future, who can help us, who can we help, and how best to get it done with the lenses of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, analyzing the activity we have planned, don't have planned, and sleep, or the activity we get paid for and don't get paid for, we now can prioritize because we know what's important to us, because we know the what, the who, and the how. Once you know the what, the who, and the how, and a trajectory of what you think you want, not only can you prioritize, but even more importantly, we can give meaning to an unlimited past of incidences, of inflection points and defining moments and historical significances that have impacted us. We can give a meaning to that past aligned with what's important to us in a trajectory of what we think we want. Remember, you are only one action, one word, one thought, one belief, or one feeling away from being at ease. That's all it takes. One different thought, you could be at ease. One different action, you could be at ease. One different word saying, you could be at ease. One different belief, you could be at ease. And guess what? You are in control of your actions, your words, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your feelings. And all you have to do is make the right ones in alignment with what you want, who you can help, who can help you, how to get it done, and prioritize accordingly. Not only will you not procrastinate or feel overwhelmed, but you'll be more efficient, effective, and statistically successful because there is a mathematical side to this of prioritization. People who prioritize know what to do now. And when they finish doing what they're doing now, they know what to do now again, meaning when they know what to do next. That's what prioritization is. 100% of the things you do now get done. And they get done with the most efficient, effective, and statistically successful way of getting it done now. So I prioritize, I live in the now, knowing the only limitation of now is 24 hours. So I'm going to utilize 24 hours by knowing what's important to me with the activities during the day that I plan, don't have planned, and sleep. And here's the nuance of the antidote of procrastination and feeling overwhelmed. That if you prioritize your days in this manner by doing things now, instead of searching for a why, instead of searching intellectually, intuitively, and inspirationally for your why, you now are applying your why. You're applying your why because this reduces, dissipates, and dissolves and disappears the interference that's created by not knowing the what, the who, and the how, that's created by procrastination and feeling overwhelmed, that's created by this interference. So instead of looking for source, you're accessing and utilizing source. You're applying your why, which now creates an exponential acceleration. So know your what, your who, your how, and your now, and apply your why. Utilizing prioritization is the antidote to the interference of procrastination and feeling overwhelmed.
Now, let's say you have like 100 different things you can do. You organize on like a Notion or Trello board from the most valuable task per hour spent on that task. So do you know now what's the most valuable thing to start with? Even if everything's laid out, what catalyst, what igniter could you use to get you started on these tasks? Because sometimes I know I have everything laid out, I know what's important, what's the most valuable task at the time, but I'm just like, man, like that task looks pretty difficult. I don't want to do it right now.
Yeah, yes. Which is so good because there's a theory, if you're right-handed, they always say, cut your right fingernails first, which is obviously the more difficult hand to cut your fingernails on if you're right-handed. But moreover, I've come with actually a solution, a simple solution for what is a very common problem about getting started, especially with difficult or resistant tasks. And it's called the first 5 minutes suck rule. And when we use our logic and we look at the first task of 100, first of all, we should feel blessed that we have 100 things to do. That means we have more options, opportunities, and touches of favor. We're living in abundance. So we're just proving out how abundant we're living. But now what we do is we say, okay, the first 5 minutes of this activity is going to suck. So I tell myself, look, I just got to get started. The first 5 minutes suck. If I don't like it after 5 minutes, I'm going to stop. But let me tell you something about momentum and movement. Einstein teaches this better than anyone. And I use usually running as an example because I will tell you, I run 3 times a week, 3.5 miles. And invariably, it's about 1,000 runs, a year or whatever, 150 runs a year in three runs. So it's 150 runs. Out of 150 runs, I would say about 145 of them, I don't want to do when I wake up. I have a list of my activities and that one's on there. I'm gonna run 3.5 miles. And I tell myself, David, the first 5 minutes of this run are gonna suck. You can stop after 5 minutes and walk home, right? You can do this if you want. 100% of the time that I don't wanna do something, never, ever have I stopped. But even moreover, 100% of the time that I kept going, when I was finished, and this is very, very true about every run, I've never said to myself, gosh, I wish I didn't do that. Whether it was doing my accounting, whether it was, helping my kids with their homework or running, whatever it is that I didn't want to do, I took this, I get to do this attitude by saying, hey, look, I know how this works. I know the game. The first 5 minutes suck. You can stop after 5 minutes, David. Just go ahead and do 5 minutes and see what happens. And boom, 100% of the time, I'm so glad I got started.
Another thing that really I learned just from observing what you do, David, is you really, like something that I've been doing a lot over this year is people, sort of investing in people. Like over the last year, I've just been really focusing on my podcast because it allows me to meet amazing people, following up with all these amazing people I meet, trying to keep in contact with, seeing where I could offer value, seeing whatever little piece of thing I've done, maybe see if I can offer and just help as many people as possible. And so just building that Rolodex, building that network. And right now, I don't know where it leads in the long run. I just have a feeling that it's worth doing. But what's your theory on all that? Because I see that as something you're really strong at.
Well, I appreciate you acknowledging that because that's my whole perspective. You said it. And what I talk about is my mission is to have a community of people that help each other or know people that can help each other. What more valuable thing today could there be? And I will tell you, 10 years from now, and I've had this discussion when I started building my community, other people talk about building a brand. I started to build a community of like-minded, like-hearted, and light-handed people that wanted to help each other and new people that could help each other, that expands worldwide to a size, scope, and scale of an audience that's so big that even I can't fathom it. But when I started, I was blessed to be helped by Gary Vaynerchuk, and we had this conversation about how people are going to look back and kick themselves that they didn't take advantage of the accessibility of community. And one of the key components that really convinced me of this is a very odd brand or community, and it's Dr. Pimple Popper. it was so enlightening to me when I started. I ran across this woman, a doctor, who's, a dermatologist who pops pimples. Now, I can't think of anything in my own personal frequency that's more repulsive. And I couldn't, as I did due diligence on her, imagine she had her own podcast. She had her own TV show on Bravo. She had more subscribers on YouTube than the entire Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is the most popular sport in America and the biggest heroes of the most popular sport in America. And that's when I realized that the riches are in the niches, that we now have the ability, like never before, that our unique thumbprint, that is us, our unique essence, our skills, our knowledge, and our desire, which combined create a unique fingerprint, creates a frequency that, although most of the people on earth may be repulsed by, like popping pimples, that there is a niche of millions of people. And because we have access to the frequency now, that we're able to build a community of like-minded, like-hearted, and like-handed people that are willing to help each other and find more people that can help each other. That's the secret sauce. So actually, every single thing that I do, my books, my speeches, my coaching, my podcast, my TV shows, my movies, everything I've evolved into over the last 6 years is just for one purpose, to build a neighborhood, a community of like-minded, like-hearted, and like-handed people that are willing, that have the same vibration or frequency, the same awareness, because we can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than us, to help each other and find more people to help each other, creating what? Creating efficiencies, effectiveness, and statistical success, creating more light, more love, and more lessons in this frequency. And remember, it only takes one particle of light to overcome 1 million particles of darkness. So if your mission is similar to mine, to empower over 1 billion people, to be happy, to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun, what better way to do it than to build a community of people?
Is there a difference between sort of spending time and sort of networking and talking with sort of other sort of business owners, other athletes, movie stars, singers, and sort of that group of people, versus sort of building a community of sort of people who watch you, people who learn from you, people who sort of consume your content? Are those the same, or is it different?
Well, it's in the aspect of what the community is about, right? Determined upon, regardless of how you define them as athletes, celebrities, entertainers, billionaires, millionaires, and entrepreneurs, I have a logo or a vision of myself. And one is, I always have this hand out asking for help, finding people that sit in a situation I want to be in and teaching me, giving me directions, instructions, how to get there. And then my other hand's down here, reaching back, grabbing people and helping them get to where they want to be. And the math behind it to me is quite simple, is that the fastest way to get to where you want to be is find someone that's already there and ask them for instructions. And to add to the statistical success of that acceleration and aggregate and compound that acceleration, we find and help other people get to where they want to be. And this is the community of people that I talked about, people who can help each other and people who know people that can help each other. I had a 19-year-old when COVID started and my whole business fell upside down in Sports One marketing, which was based upon the Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Masters, Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup, ESPYs, Emmys, Oscars, and Grammys. And on March 18th, I found out that they would be closed, right? I literally had a 19-year-old call me who I had helped, a 19-year-old, and he said, Dave, I wanted to thank you so much. My life is amazing. My dad wants to talk to you. And his dad gets on the phone. I said, yeah, talk to me. Thank you so much. My son has changed so much. He's living an amazing, abundant life. I can't believe, I don't know what you told him, but he also told me you're a great speaker. Would you like to do a keynote speech for my company? We're having our annual meeting. I said, well, it's COVID. He said, no, I'm going to do it virtually. And before I even knew that, I gave him my budget. At that time, I was charging $50,000 for a speech, but I didn't know it was virtual. He said, no, I'm doing it virtual. I don't have that budget. I said, well, what do you have? He said, 40. And, I'm coming from the traditional world of flying around from Saudi Arabia to Europe to Thailand to wherever, Korea and Japan. And I was like, oh, okay. He goes, it's, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And I said, yeah, I can do that. How long is it? He said, 20-minute speech, 10 Q&A. I said, yeah, absolutely. He said, actually, I have 2 of them back to back each day. And I said, yeah, that's fine. And I ended up making $80,000 before anybody was doing virtual speeches because I helped a 19-year-old unconditionally. This is a community of people who can help one another, know people who can help one another. And whether it's Austin Eckler, the all-pro running back for the Los Angeles Chargers, coming to my son's practice before their championship game to change 27 12-year-olds' lives forever, something they'll never forget, or whether it's Tillman Fertitta, the billionaire who helps out a charity of mine with a huge donation, or whether it's me elevating someone else and giving them an opportunity to do something. It's the community, a community of people that are helping one another and know people who can help one another.
That's amazing. Is there any way to for example, I went from doing a lot of sales course, sort of really focus on my coaching and sort of course, building out an educational platform and just sort of focus doing my own thing, to then over the last year just focusing on people, meeting amazing people that I really just enjoy spending time with. And as I made this transition, this is more fulfilling. I feel like it's more of a longer term play, but there's zero, I've just lost money doing the podcast. I've made no money helping people. I've gotten a few golden nuggets when I've needed help, but I usually don't ask for help because usually I don't have many questions. And financially, it's at zero. But I do feel like long term, that network, that Rolodex is infinitely sort of valuable.
Yeah, so I figured out a methodology for this. This is one of the things I coach people on, and I'd love to help you with it, is how to monetize the community and organic essence that you are. And it's very simple for me, is if you build a community of open-minded, open-hearted, and open-handed people by being of value and service like you had, now you have to start asking. You start asking, what are you doing today? What do you like about it? And what don't you like about it? Because if we can figure out how to give someone more of what they like or take away some of what they don't like, there's a quantitative value. And then there's a transition statement or question that can be utilized when we find out what people like or don't like. And it's, would it help you if? Would it help you if? And that's where we load in the capabilities, the skills, knowledge, and desire that we have. Would it help you if you joined my group coaching or came to my free training, or I shipped you a book or give you one-on-one coaching? I have great experience at that. Would it help you if I introduce this person and then have a memorialized overlap agreement in order to monetize that? And the more value that you provide to others, it also allows you to grow more, because one of my favorite questions after I ask and get confirmation, would it help you if you join my private group or my one-on-one coaching to monetize your community? Then I ask, hey, do you know anyone that can help me? I'm looking for more people to come to my free Friday training that I can send my book to, or that may want to join my one-on-one coaching group or my private one-on-one or my business advisory program, or hire me to speak, or maybe sponsor my TV show. Do you know anybody that can help me? This simple, open-ended question guide, this template to success of monetization, only can be effectuated by those people like you that have built a community of open-minded, open-handed, and open-hearted people. Because that's the hard part, is to qualify people that are open-minded, open-handed, and open-hearted. Once you have that community, now all you got to do is be more interested than interesting. Find out what they're doing, find out what they like and don't like, and then use your capabilities as an arsenal of value and practice articulating the quantitative value to exceed what you're asking for, and they will see no reason why they won't want to move forward.
Do you ever find yourself spread thin? Because I noticed that when I'm sort of helping source this Ferrari jacket for my friend's daughter, to helping this person's wife with her e-commerce store, to sort of, I've noticed one of my friend has a sports collection, baseball cards, and his book is all torn up, so I'm going to buy him a new one and just ship it to his house. And also I'm just doing all these random things, which I know I love doing it, it's fun, but then now I'm sort of not focused on my main sort of business.
Yeah, so one is the prioritization, right? We won't be getting to those because, or we will. So one of them is just prioritizing, but two is also understanding time. So I have a 5-20 rule that says I will give 5-minute phone calls and 20-minute meetings, interviews, whatever, with exceptions, of course, with my own priorities. So for me, I don't waste that time. So I'm looking for the most efficient, effective, and statistically successful way to get as much activity done during the day by prioritizing and getting what is important done first and what's urgent done later. And the things, of course, that are important with a subset of urgency get done, first as well. So I find that, we waste so much time. I'll give you a really funny example that probably is applicable to you. I have a cabinet that is just a mess. I have 4 children. It's that cabinet that everybody throws stuff in, and and I walk by that thing and I'm thinking to myself all the time, I got to clean that out. And it's one of those things that's just not a priority. Well, I found myself one day that one of my coaching calls ended early and I didn't have an interview for 22 minutes. And so I had a new unplanned 22 minute of time. And like you, I'm like, maybe I'll sit down and do emails and I looked at the cabinet and I said, Parkinson law, let's apply it. I have 22 minutes to clean this thing out. And I focused the attention and intention, and it took me 21 minutes and 39 seconds to clean out that cabinet. And it must have been 2 years that I walked by that cabinet making excuses that I didn't have the time, but I applied my why, made the time when I actually paid attention and gave intention to it, or what I was going to do, say, think, believe, and feel about the cabinet. So that overlap can be utilized as well in the prioritization process to get these little things done that sometimes we feel are more important than the things that pay for those little things.
That's beautiful. I just realized we went way over time. I want to be respectful for your time, David. I really appreciate your time today. Where can people find out more about what you do and basically learn more about what you've just shared today?
Well, I'd love for everyone to join my free Friday trainings. If they want to join my group, if they like to get on my wait list for one-on-one training, but everything, my books, guides, exercises, I give for free. But please just email me directly, david@dmeltzer.com. My first name is David. The first initial D Meltzer is my domain, david@dmeltzer.com. For your audience, I'll send my book to everyone for free. I'll give the open-ended question guide for free, the 5 daily practices, whatever you need. I'm here to be of service and of value. Please reach out to me directly. If you forget all of it, just Google me. You'll find it. I'm on every platform, David Meltzer. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Remember, everyone, be kind to your future self and do good deeds.
Thank you so much for your time today, David. I really appreciate it. I can just tell and feel the authenticity and the positive energy through the screen. And I just love the passion. I could feel the passion you have for just giving, building communities, and just kindness, and just emphasizing on kindness and just fully being yourself. And I could just sense that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's do this again and come on to some of my shows as well. I'd love to see you.
Thank you so much, David. So yeah, that's another episode of the podcast. Hope you guys got value. If you guys made it this far, I really appreciate you for your time and energy. Please leave me a review on Apple and Spotify. I really want to get to hear your thoughts. If I'm doing something bad or good, please let me know. I read all the reviews, so please do that. And other than that, I'll see you guys next week with another episode. Peace.